A Look at Finance is underwritten by Janney Montgomery Scott, trusted advisors for generations.
Welcome back to your Thursday night edition of Look News. First Vice President from Janney Montgomery Scott, Stephen Carleton, stopping by for...
Thanks, David. Always a pleasure to be
our
here.
weekly Look at Finance. Always a pleasure to have you here. Let's start with some stories from the stock market. A lot going on. Some earnings reports that you may find of interest. Facebook, some surprise earnings. Everybody's got a Facebook account.
Yeah, well, a lot of people do. And Facebook has been one of those stocks that's had one heck of a ride. I mean, we've talked about this last year, you know, the IPO coming out, and a lot of uncertainty on that stock. And it was a little bit of an embarrassment. The way that stock came out didn't hit the pricing that people were expecting. And it's kind of had a bumpy ride in the last little while. Facebook stuck to its guns. They believed in their marketing strategy. They believed in their ability to generate revenue through their mobile ads, and that is the ads on your cell phone, the pop-up when you're on Facebook. Well, earnings came out yesterday and surprised everybody. And a lot of the analysts were caught flat-footed. They weren't expecting it. And what happened overnight and into this morning is we saw Facebook shoot straight up. It was incredible. We had Facebook up over $8,
okay,
and it closed at $34.71, which an incredible jump in a very short period of time, over 30% today.
Okay.
So big news for them.
And initially with the IPO, that kind of fizzled. There was all that hype about the IPO. Initially it was, what, $38 a share?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so the IPO fizzled. Finally, people putting some stock in Facebook.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people are going to reevaluate their ability to generate revenue off of this ad model that they're using. And it's going to have a lot of people talking.
Facebook is definitely interesting. I mean, the lifespan of this product out, you know, if you think about MySpace, you know, some of you old-timers, Friendster.
Yeah.
It was all these different sites. Facebook has outlasted them all and continues to go strong.
Well, this sector is very fickle. Yesterday's winner can change dramatically. I mean, we've seen Microsoft and Apple and Intel. We've seen all sorts of stocks rise and fall. And, you know, this is no exception. This is a very fickle market. And consumer opinions can change pretty radically, but right now they've had a really good run.
Another stock earnings that came out that really surprised me when you said this, Starbucks saw a major increase in their earnings. What's the news on Starbucks?
Well, you know, there's a lot of concern about consumer spending. And so Starbucks came out and their earnings were surprised to the upside. They earned 55 cents earnings per share this quarter. Expectations were 53. And what they talked about for next quarter is they're looking at for 56, 57 cents. So there's been a lot of restructuring, a lot of work in Starbucks the last 2 years, and it really seems to be taking traction. People are pleased with the numbers that are coming up. There's more work to be done, but you know, definitely these are encouraging signs when you look at the consumer.
Yeah, is that a sign that the economy's improving? I mean, if you go to Starbucks, you're spending what, $3, $4 for a cup of coffee?
Yeah.
Yeah, it must be a sign that folks have a little more money to spend.
Well, you know, consumers react so much on these kinds of purchases based on how they're feeling. And, you know, if they feel comfortable, they feel secure, their jobs are secure, they're more apt to go out for lunch, they're more apt to go grab a coffee at break. And so this is kind of one of those interesting barometers that we use to kind of measure consumer, you know, feeling and how they're doing with the market. So this is a good sign, I think, on a lot of levels.
Yeah, Starbucks, a little too rich for my taste. But anyway, typical summer on the markets right now, typical summer volume. Not a lot going on, but some oil prices, some movement in the oil prices. What's going on there? So
like you said, stock market's been pretty low volume so far this summer. Not out of the norm. People go away. There's less and less trading taking place. But where there's a lot of attention, a lot of focus has been on oil. Oil has really been gangbusters. You know, last time we were talking, it was at 82, 83, and it looked like it was going to start taking off. It did, and we got up to that 108, 109 range. It sold off a little bit this week. It's still in that 107 range, up a couple pennies today, 35 cents, but we're not out of the woods yet.
All right, let's go to some more local stories. BizJournals.com reporting this, that the Albany, Schenectady, Troy area, of course it includes our part of the world, ranks 54th overall out of 102 major metro areas when it comes to economic vitality, right down the middle of the road.
Yeah, so if the nation as a whole has been growing and things are getting better, and we're right in the middle of that, that's not a bad place to be. And I mean, we've got a lot of reasons for that. Like, we've talked so much about, some of the things that are going on in upstate New York, some of the measures that, the government is doing here. And so this is a really good sign that we're staying in there. Would we like to be doing better? Absolutely. But you know what? Being in the middle of the pack is not a bad thing.
Yeah, and could be worse.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another trend that is coming back, we've seen this as of late, banks changing name.
Right.
Bank of America, we reported this yesterday on Look News. Bank of America selling 20 branches in upstate New York. 2 of those, one in Queensbury, one in Glens Falls. Just no money for them in the local banking market, huh?
Well, this is, a lot of people have been talking about this lately, about the difference between local small businesses, local community banks, versus the national banks. And the national banks need to reach profits and to justify being in a community, their expectations are a little bit harder to reach. And so some of this decision making to pull out of some of the communities and sell some of these branches, just like you said, they can't make the money. Whereas there are other local banks that feel like they can move into the area and succeed.
Yeah, Berkshire Bank is buying this, a Massachusetts-based bank that recently came into our area and started opening branches. They bought the HSBC location.
That's right.
After First Niagara. Right? Am I right? Yeah.
Yep.
First Niagara bought a bunch of HSBCs. Yep. They had 2 branches in Wilton. They had to move out of one. That then became a Berkshire Bank. So it seems like it's just another bank moving into their spot, and then eventually another bank will move into their spot.
I think this theme of smaller banks, credit unions that have lower costs, that don't have to be so focused on profits every quarter, these are just like the small businesses in Saratoga. They are the people that are hiring. They're the people that are employing. And so as the major corporations maybe rethink some of these things, it's nice to see that these banks are coming in saying we can do business here in Saratoga.
Yeah, another bank that says it can come here and do business in Saratoga County is the Catskill Hudson Bank. Pretty small outfit, operated for 20 years, 12 branches, only in Orange, Sullivan, and Ulster County, so down, south of the Albany area.
Right.
Going to open their first branch out of that neck of the woods in Malta. They must think there's a lot of money to be had in Malta.
And
there's and real quick, that's their website and their logo. As you can see, pretty small outfit.
I have a lot of fondness for these types of banks because I'll tell you, a lot of small businesses that won't get any attention at the major national banks can go into a branch like this, and a mom and pop small business owner can say, I'd like to expand or I'd like to hire a couple new people. And these kinds of banks will look at a small business differently. And so I'm excited to see these kinds of banks move into this area because they're going to do these more micro loans, the smaller cap loans, that really don't get as much attention, and there's a need for it in the area.
All right, well, we'll see how they do in the area. A sign of progress. I know you and I have been watching this closely, as everybody, I think, has in Saratoga Springs. Signage going up on the new North Shore bookstore, which is slated to open early August, and then Kilwin's, the candy store, that's going to be on the other side of that building, the Washington, as it's called.
I can't wait for this place to open. Can't wait to get a cup of coffee, take a look, walk through the books on a Sunday. We've needed something like this in Saratoga for a while. So like you said, we've been waiting for a while on this. I can't wait to see it open.
Yeah, they say, North Shore Books say on their website today that work is still going on inside the store. The upstairs is described as a raw space. So they were supposed to be open last month. They say opening is estimated for early August, but they can't give us a date.
Yeah, no, they're definitely hustling on this. It's a beautiful building. It's a great location. The sooner the better.
Oh, and I think once that store opens, people are going to be lined up around the corner. The thing is, you got to buy. That was what happened to Borders. Nobody bought. If you were like me, I get my cup of coffee, go read some magazines, and then leave.
They'll keep an eye out for you now, I'm sure.
Hey, I buy books. I do. So
yeah, absolutely.
We're good. Yeah, but the magazines. I don't think they're going to have I don't know if they're going to have magazines.
I wouldn't be surprised. I think it certainly makes sense. There's still people that love to do that.
Yeah, yeah, they do in their Manchester stores.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well,
stuff.
once it opens, you and I will be there.
Deal. Thanks,
Stephen
David.
Carleton, First Vice President for Janney Montgomery Scott. Our weekly look at finance. He's the whiz kid when it comes to that stuff.
Always good to be here.
All right. Now, to see this segment and all our segments, head to the website. It's looktvonline.com.